Andrew Callahan, great work. Great work.
Thank you, Trenni.
So much drama. So much drama. I love me some good drama, though. I know we all knew things weren't great inside the locker room, but when you started talking to sources, did you know it was this bad?
No, of course not. I mean, if I did, we'd had the story out a lot earlier, and I think it needs to take some time and understanding of what really happened because, these people agreed to talk because the sting of last season, which was a wasted season, let's just call it what it is still there. And the trust, the relationships, the system, which you hear all the time, Bill is the system is Bill in New England, just fell fat. It was broken. Like, there's nothing that they felt they could do except for come talk to us and explain. We all saw the what. It was bad. We knew why. It was the coaching, but the how, day in and day out, of why this Patriots season failed.
I think there was frustration from the beginning, right? And that was apparent. I think what you came to learn, though, over time was that even if you were a player in that locker room and you wanted to give it time, because Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, and Bill will get this figured out, and we are going to get this figured out as a group, because when have we not gotten it figured out as a group? You could probably look at it that way if you're a player and you look at Bill Belichick's resume, but as the weeks go by and it clearly is not getting figured out, I think that's when things really start to get exasperated in terms of the frustrations.
One of the things that stuck out to me is just how freely guys spoke, and quite frankly, how freely guys spoke all year expressing frustration, Phil. Like, I look at this and I think the question I ask is, has irreparable harm been done? Like, is this fixable? Can they trust? I know Bill Belichick has won 6 Super Bowls and blah, 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 but like, guys literally felt like maybe they were hung out to dry. I just wonder if that's something that can easily just be like smoothed over.
Well, I've spoken to a couple people in the building with the team today, and they said, listen, hiring Bill O'Brien is step one. And it was clear. This ain't going to be a panacea that fixes everything that happened in 2022. It's a good step. It rectifies what was the most serious problem of 2022, but it's not the only thing that needs to happen for things to get back on track. And I think there's something that's interesting that's going to happen this coming season with Bill Belichick in particular, because I think for a long time there were so many players, and he had done it for so many years and done it at an elite level for so many years, and I think he still has that ability. But there are a lot of players that could look at Bill Belichick at the front of the room, and he would say, this is what's going to happen at 1 o'clock when we kick off. This is how we're going to respond, and this is why we're going to win the game. When you lose any measure of that, and you have imports, Andrew, from out of town, they brought in a lot of free agents just a couple off seasons ago that maybe weren't brought in and have those same experiences of Bill being Nostradamus at the front of the room. I think it's harder to continue to maintain that buy-in no matter what.
No question about it. And let's just throw out 2 numbers, 25 and 26. That's what this team is over the last 3 years. And we could talk about the COVID year and Cam Newton, Mac being a rookie. But this season proved, if nothing else, the guy at the top, if that's Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time, is only as good as assistants down below him. So as Phil spoke to and people I talked to today said the same thing. We feel like we're at the start of a fresh start, turning the page. But who is going to be our offensive line coach? How do we fill out the rest of the staff? Because you had Bill Belichick at the top last season, and you had 8 and 9 because the people below him were Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in roles they were never, ever suited for.
Yeah, we are going to learn more about Joe Judge, and I can't wait to get your guys' reaction on that. But the other thing that stuck out to me was that this article came out in the first place. Like, this stuff just doesn't happen, but it does happen when your teams don't win. It does happen when guys are frustrated and they no longer feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to suck it up and do whatever Bill Belichick tells me to do, because at the end of the day, we're in the AFC Championship game. We're going to a Super Bowl. Should Bill be mad at the guys because they're talking, or should the guys be just, or do they have a right? Do they have a right to air their grievances?
No doubt about it. I mean, they did. And we heard it, like you mentioned, midseason. Mac asking to be coached harder, spit in the eyes of the staff. Mac in May saying he's going to teach Joe Judge. I mean, that's very subtle, but also blatant disrespect for the staff. And you have people like Kendrick Bourne. After that same game against Buffalo, they lose, going, we need to scheme up better. We need to be more aggressive. We need to play harder. All of that's on coaching. So this just kind of spills over after the offseason when you have the full picture and some distance to go. This was worse than any of us knew, and far worse than any of them expected, but they had to live it day to day to day.
I think the players have the right, Trenni, because something that I've heard from players both during the season and now since the season has ended is the players are the ones on the field who actually have to make it look good. If a coach gets fired, guess what? Coach still gets paid. If a player gets fired because he's not doing his job on the field, maybe because he's not being put in the best position to do his job on the field, those guys, generally speaking, don't get paid when they get fired.